Hi, I'm Avery Davidson.
And I'm Kristen Oakes-White. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Louisiana farmers know they have to compete on a global scale. Trade agreements and crop conditions half a world away impact commodity prices right here at home.
That's why every 2 years, the LSU Ag Center's Ag Leadership class takes an international trip to study the agriculture of that respective country. This year, South Africa welcomed the 25 members of Class 14.
And joining us now is Twila's AJ Sabine. And AJ pulled the short straw and got lucky to travel with these folks over to South Africa. From what I saw from the blog posts and all the pictures, AJ, it looked like they just enjoyed a lot and learned a lot on that 10-day trip.
Well, let me tell you, I've always said it's better to be lucky than good, and South Africa was certainly a fantastic trip. You know, South Africa is beautiful, and it's an amazing country filled with natural resources and incredibly diverse agriculture. Right off the bat, Class 14 learned just how diverse South African agriculture really is during a detailed ag briefing hosted by USDA Foreign Ag Service Senior Agricultural Attaché Justina Torrey. Held at the head office of Cotton, South Africa, Torrey told the class that the United States exported more than $850 million in ag products to the 11-country region that includes South Africa. Torrey then explained that South Africa is highly diversified agricultural-wise. The country, which is about twice the size of Texas, produces grain, sugar, citrus, wine, veggies, nuts, as well as aquaculture and forestry products. South Africa is the largest exporter of ag products on the entire continent of Africa. This week, we focus on a soybean, corn, and navy bean farming operation located in Delmas, South Africa. Delmas is a small farming town about 55 miles east of Johannesburg, or Joburg as they say it in South Africa, in the Mpumalanga province. There, Ag Leadership Director Dr. Bobby Swallow introduced Class 14 to Brett Parrott, the general manager of Schoeman Farms. Schoeman Farms is a massive 28,000-acre family-owned farming operation. In addition to grain products, Schoeman produces 33 metric tons of citrus annually. On this stop, Class 14 tours one of 2 navy bean screening plants located right there on the farm.
A slightly jet-lagged LSU Ag Center Class 14 stretches their legs for a bit as they begin a tour of one of 2 navy bean screening plants on the Schoeman Grain Farm. As the class moves inside the plant, Schoeman Farms General Manager Brett Parrott explains how air pressure cleans newly harvested navy beans.
In the process, we've got the pre-screening, which doesn't take out all the rocks. Okay, that's purely, it's a blowing screen, so you use a lot of wind, it blows off all the trash.
Schoeman Farms produces 3,500 acres of navy beans here, despite a severe drought that has choked off irrigation in the Delmas region. Red River Parish Forester Trey Jingles looks over a handful of debris-filled navy beans. Jingles manages 41,000 acres of timberland back home. He says this kind of one-on-one interaction with South African farmers is why he joined Ag Leadership.
The biggest thing for me was the people I was going to get to meet and interact with in our class, and then the trips, obviously, and then just broadening. It's easy to get pigeonholed or cocoon in your own little world, and I think it's important to get outside of your shell.
Back in the screening plant, Parrott explains how these shakers clean out heavier rocks from the heavier, better quality beans. Parrott explains that Schoeman produces the most navy beans for canning in this area. Vermilion Parish rice miller Lee Gotchaw listened intently as Parrott described his planting season to the class. Gotchaw says the size of the farm really impressed her.
The sustainability that they can do on the farm, where it be, I mean, they work on their own equipment and they fertilize, they make their own fertilizer. I think just how large it is and how they can do so much is pretty impressive.
Corn production on the Schoeman farm takes up about 62% of the operation. In addition to the corn, these ag leaders jumped at the opportunity to check out these young soybean plants. Parrott says it's nice to share knowledge with farmers, which is why he looked forward to the visit from Class 14.
It's important for people to understand what we're going through here, the problems that we have. I think a lot of people have similar problems in different countries in the world, but I think South Africa is very unique in the issues that we have and the way we run our businesses.
In addition to its farming operation, Schoeman Farms is completely vertically integrated. The company produces liquid and granular fertilizer through a separate venture, and it also runs a grain handling and storage business. Now, Schoeman Farms may handle tons of navy beans around the farm, but local patrons of the Pretoria Farmers Market can find navy beans for sale, as well as tons of fruits, veggies, pastries, and of course, arts and crafts. Every Saturday between 5:30 and 9:30 in the morning, hundreds of people follow the gravel path through the Pretoria Farmers Market. Members of Class 14, including Tensall Parish cotton grower Thomas Kriegler, perused dozens of vendors selling fresh vegetables and food. Ask Jim Monroe about the braided sausage with the bacon. Absolutely fabulous. From warthog tusk knives to lime trees, the market is a paradise for urban dwellers who want a taste of the countryside. Dozens of hungry customers line up for fresh breads, potted plants, and of course, everything you need for a salad, Avery Davidson, like these English cucumbers. Even local musicians busk along the paths of the market to take advantage of the market's eclectic visitors. Vendors like this pastry maker all share a sense of pride not only in their products, but the market as you walk through. And guys, let me tell you, Class 14 got a chance to taste, smell, and interact with some of the folks at the farmers market, and they absolutely love it. This trip is just remarkable.
Well, I'm glad you remembered how much I love fresh cucumbers from our trip to Turkey and fresh salad. But what was really neat about this trip was being able to follow along while y'all were doing it through the Voice of Louisiana Agriculture, the blog posted there by all of the members of Class 14. Tell me a little bit about what it was like blogging for that.
Well, first of all, South Africa was a remarkable trip, and being the conduit there to see all these things that you've never seen before, and to be the information superhighway, if you will,
Yeah.
the conduit to get that information out there was remarkable. I got to give a lot of credit to Jim Monroe, who took many of the pictures that you'll see on the blog. It's just a fascinating trip. I mean, when you enter in a truck and a rhino is like 10 feet away from you, there's just nothing like that in the world. But speaking of rhinos, Kristen, ask me about the Big Five, because that's coming up next week.
Tell me about the Big Five, AJ.
Okay, great. The Big Five, you go to Kruger National Park, everyone wants to know about the Big Five. The Big Five are elephants, rhinoceros, Cape buffalo, leopards, and the elusive lion.
I'm so glad that I asked you about it.
Yes, but we have got lots of pictures from Kruger National Park, all the wildlife you can shake a stick at. You got to tune in next week. And you've also got to go onto twilatv.org to check out some of those great pictures that are on that blog.
Well, AJ Sabine, looking forward to the future reports. Thank you very much.
Well, the Louisiana legislature will meet in special session starting on February 14th to address a nearly $800 million budget shortfall this fiscal year and another $1.9 billion shortfall in the next. That's the message Governor John Bell Edwards brought to these sugarcane farmers at the annual meeting of the American Sugarcane League. Edwards says he's asking the legislature to pass a 1-cent sales tax that would apply to all sales except those exempted by the Constitution, which are groceries, prescription drugs, and utilities at your primary residence. He calls it the clean penny, and it would immediately begin adding revenue to the state's coffers. That clean penny tax would apply to sales on farm equipment and inputs, items which are usually exempt from state sales tax. Given the current budget crisis, Edwards says all tax exemptions are going to be under the microscope to ensure a prosperous future.
We're looking at all of them. All options are on the table. I will tell you, they also depend upon an ag center at LSU that provides the research necessary to develop new varieties of sugarcane to keep them competitive and successful in the years to come. And the disinvestment we've had in Louisiana in higher education over the last 8 years is the highest in the nation.
The research work that's done at the Ag Center is crucial. You know, in the last 30 years, Louisiana's sugar industry has almost doubled its sugar production per acre. And that doesn't just happen. I mean, that's the result of active and effective research.
American Sugarcane League General Manager Jim Seamont says funding the LSU and Southern Ag Centers is the key to continued success in agriculture.
Well, as you just heard, the Louisiana legislature will meet in special session starting on February 14th. That's why Louisiana Farm Bureau members are meeting now with their legislators across the state. Farm Bureau members in central Louisiana sat across the table with representatives and senators over a meal at the Steamboat Warehouse restaurant in Washington, Louisiana. This dinner is a chance for Farm Bureau members to share their appreciation with their representatives and let them know about the issues that concern them in the upcoming special session. 9 legislators attended the dinner, including the new chairman of the Finance Committee, Eric LaFleur. LaFleur spoke briefly about the difficult task of fixing the state's budget deficits, even saying that many of them may not like him once the session is over. More than 60 Farm Bureau members were in attendance at the dinner. More legislative dinners just like this one will happen across the state in the coming weeks.
Louisiana rice farmers are keeping a close eye on what's going on in Washington, especially when it comes to trade agreements. USA Rice Federation President and CEO Betsy Ward told a joint meeting of the Louisiana Rice Council and the Louisiana Rice Growers Association that there are still concerns about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would give American rice little inroads into the Asian market. However, Ward praised the effectiveness of the U.S.-Colombia trade agreement, which significantly increased the amount of American rice into the Colombian market. Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation third Vice President and Evangeline Parish rice farmer Richard Fontenot says opening markets is important with how hard it is for farmers to make a profit.
The markets have been soft. They firmed up a little bit, but still, unless we get more export business, we still have a lot of rice in Louisiana to move out, and that's tough on the pocketbook and the bottom line.
Fontenot says rice farmers will also keep an eye on what's happening at the Louisiana legislature during the special session. Coming up later in the bottom line, Neil Melanson will look at how oil prices are depressing commodity prices.
Many of our viewers would recognize Louisiana Farm Bureau President Ronnie Anderson dressed up in a suit. Well, that's just how most of us are used to seeing him. However, like most farmers and ranchers across the state, Anderson is most at home on the land. In this edition of Louisiana Farm Life, Twila's Carl Wiggers takes us to Ethel, Louisiana, and the land that has supported the Anderson family for almost 100 years.
This is where Ronnie Anderson feels most at home, his farm, the same farm where he grew up.
Come here! My grandfather was in the dairy business, and they had, corn and hay, of course, and that sort of stuff. And the corn was to feed the cattle and the horses and mules and stuff.
Anderson even remembers plowing a field or two behind a mule. He later traded in the mule to work with the John Deere Model A, like this one you see here. As much as Anderson loves this Model A, he loves his horses even more. Anderson's love for horses would later be shared with a lifelong friend, Vivian Norsworthy, the daughter of a dairy farmer up the road in Jackson, Louisiana. So it was only natural that their first date involved this shared hobby.
He called and wanted to know, did I want to go ride horses? And that was something we both enjoyed doing together. And growing up, we always did. I'd come down here with my mother, and Ronnie would be riding, and I would ride horses with him. So it was a very, very cold January day, and we went to ride horses. And I just remember how very comfortable it was being with him. You know, you could go out with somebody and you felt like you had to act a certain way or say something, but you could laugh and you could talk, and you were very, very comfortable with him. And I'll always remember that very cold January Sunday riding horses with Ronnie.
While still in college at LSU and only 20 years old, Ronnie married Vivian and they moved home to this farm. Anderson took over the family dairy and continued to spend 25 years in the industry. Anderson now raises beef cattle. Here on the farm, you'll find cows and their calves, a few donkeys, a pair of longhorn steers, and, it's a little surprise, his horses. His love for horses never wavered, even after getting a couple of bumps and bruises over the years, including the time he was bucked from his horse, properly named Buck. The bumps and bruises here included a separated pelvis and a stay in the hospital.
Oh, that's the one that almost killed me.
That didn't stop Anderson from climbing back in the saddle, even against Vivian's better wishes.
I discouraged it, but it was something he had done all his life. And the first time he got on a horse, he didn't tell me that that's what he was doing.
Ronnie finds his way back into the saddle today alongside his grandchildren. where his love for horses has made its way into the hearts of the next generation.
I've always had horses, and you know, when I was a little kid, you'd ride without a saddle and bareback and have to use your toes to hook in the legs and climb up and climb on a fence when you're too short to get on them. But I don't know, I tell you what, when I got hurt, it did hurt my back pretty good, and if I sit or stand or something, I'll have some back problems. But when I get on a horse, the back problems go away. I mean, really, you would think it would make it worse, but the best I feel is when I'm riding, and when you can ride and have your granddaughter riding with you and see how happy she is and how much she's beginning to love to ride. It's a great experience. They can't beat that.
In the office, the Farm Bureau keeps him busy, but he says it's the farm that keeps his life in balance.
With all the stress and stuff that I do with the Farm Bureau and LSU and legislative stuff, I come out here and either get on a horse, on a tractor, clip pasture, ride a horse. It's the way I stay sane. You know, if I don't do that, I'd be crazy as a bat. But anyway, it's a relief.
Ronnie and Vivian stay very busy taking care of the land at home, as well as business here with Farm Bureau. And as if that isn't enough, Anderson also sits on the board of supervisors at LSU. And Kristen, Avery, one thing that we share is a love for LSU baseball. And we talked about that there at the house on the back porch, how much they're excited about opening day a couple weeks away, and I cannot wait myself.
Yeah, I know you can't wait. Now, I know that because I was out there shooting that story with Carl, and as soon as they started to talk about LSU baseball, I was just, where's Avery? Doesn't really matter. It went on and on and on and on. And
it's a conversation that's come up a few times between us, so it's something we know.
And didn't you try to talk them out of their tickets?
We can't say that on camera, but maybe a game or two I might have tried to finagle out of there.
Well, maybe if you stick with it, he might just give you one for one game.
Fingers crossed.
And me too.
Fingers crossed.
Well, thank you very much, Carl Wiggers.
Still to come on Twila, from Iowa to the internet, it's time to see what's trending on Twila.
Stay with us.
I now hope they're fighting today.
I hope they are. I'll put a Dorito on here.
I got a fish! I got a fish!
Find your place in the country and the lender who can get you there. Find Louisiana Land Bank. Financing for country homes, recreational property, farms and ranches, and agribusiness.
Farming is my way of life. I chose this career, but farming chose me.
A lot of people ask you what you do, and I tell them I'm a farmer.
I'm a cattleman.
I am a fisherman.
I'm a scientist.
I'm a steward of the land.
I am a farm woman.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I'm a Farm Bureau.
Louisiana oysters, salty, sweet, and delicious. But have you ever thought about what happens to all those oyster shells? Most of them end up in trash cans and landfills. The Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana is changing this with its oyster shell recycling program, and you can help by visiting these participating restaurants. It's a simple and delicious way to restore our coast. The shells will then be used to sustain and rebuild oyster reefs. Remember, once you shuck them, don't just chuck them.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Well, now it's that time in the show when we go online to see what's trending in agriculture on social media.
This week, the 2016 presidential election was the top trending topic on Facebook and Twitter. After months of debating and campaigning, the candidates faced voters for the first time this week in the Iowa caucuses.
From election result tweets to posts about the actual caucus process, people were fascinated with every aspect of the event on social media. The hashtag Iowa caucus was even a global Twitter trend on Monday night, and I heard it was also a drinking game.
Oh, that's right, and national news outlets posted live tweets of the caucus results as the votes rolled in from each county. Ted Cruz won the Republican race with 27.6% of the vote, followed by Donald Trump with 24% and Marco Rubio, who secured 23% of the votes in Iowa.
The Democratic caucus resulted in a dead heat between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. In 6 of the precincts, the winner came down to a coin toss. Literally. The Des Moines Register tweeted that sometimes Iowa Democrats award caucus delegates with a coin toss when the votes are too close to call. At the end of the night, Clinton was finally determined as the winner.
The Iowa caucuses also shined a national spotlight on agriculture. Most of the candidates campaigned at the Iowa State Fair, shucking corn, grilling burgers, and talking to voters about where they stand on agriculture issues.
The latest AgriPulse poll shows that 40% of U.S. farmers and ranchers support Donald Trump for president. If you want to see the full AgriPulse survey or to learn more about where the candidates stand on ag issues, check out the Election 2016 post on our Facebook page, or you can visit our website at twilatv.org.
While politics seemed to dominate our newsfeed this week, another topic was also poking out on the trending list. Punxsutawney Phil, the world-famous groundhog, who has his own Twitter account actually, told his followers that since there is no shadow to be cast, an early spring is in the forecast.
But no matter what the groundhog says, and I saw this in an email sent out by Don Molino, the groundhog can say whatever he wants. Spring is not here until soil temperature is 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's totally missing the point. Well, the Easter egg and the Easter bunny drops off Easter eggs too, right?
But that's, you know, it's fun, I know, but Don Molino is the expert. I'm going to listen to Don Molino with the Louisiana Farm Bureau Agri-News Radio Network over any groundhog any day.
Anyway, moving on to this week's trending trivia. Last week I asked you a question about my Twila co-host, Avery Davidson. The question was, what is Avery Davidson's favorite king cake flavor? So Avery, the correct answer is?
The answer is cream cheese. I love cream cheese.
There you go. And actually most of the people that submitted an answer did guess cream cheese, except for 2.
Only 2 people did not know that I would like cream cheese. If they said lemon, they don't know me at all.
Well, only 2 people said lemon.
Okay.
The rest said cream cheese. So, well, this week's question is about our newest Twila reporter, Carl Wiggers. And the question is, what is Carl Wiggers' favorite row crop? Is it A, cotton, B, corn, or C, rice? To enter this week's trending trivia contest, simply log on to your Facebook or Twitter account and post your answer with the hashtag TwilaTrivia, or you can always submit your answer on our website at twilatv.org.
Still to come on Twila, oil, commodity prices, and cloudy skies. What do they have in common?
Well, we'll find out from Neil Melanson in the bottom line up next.
They'll test you, try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Earlier in the show, we brought you to the annual meetings of the American Sugarcane League and to Louisiana rice groups. Generally speaking, these two commodities have little in common other than they're both grown in Louisiana.
In this week's Bottom Line, Twila's Neil Melanson tells us another commodity important to Louisiana is bringing the two together.
As you saw early in the show, both rice and sugar had some major meetings here recently, enough to attract the attention of the governor. But both commodities, as well as all of Louisiana agriculture, are under some cloudy skies right now, and it has to do with one commodity in particular, oil.
Many folks in Louisiana have already felt the sting of a downturn in the price of oil and gas. Louisiana's economy and tax base are just heavily dependent upon revenues from this industry. Simply put, the lower the price of gas, the less money that goes into Louisiana. While this direct effect can be seen, there's an indirect effect on agriculture. Lower oil prices combined with a stronger U.S. dollar mean less money for foreign countries to buy our ag products. Jim Wiesemeyer, Senior Vice President at Informa Economics, addressed the American Sugarcane League meeting here and told the audience that oil prices and farm products are strongly tied together.
You will see a bottoming in a number of agricultural markets when oil bottoms, whatever that level is, whether it's in the mid-20s, $20, $15, it won't last there very long. The upside is limited for oil, but I think that's going to put the bottom in.
The other major market mover is, of course, China. With their economy stagnant right now, Wiesemeyer said they don't offer much in the way of relief for either agriculture or oil.
We are in a China-centric world because they're the #2 importer of oil right now. Just a few years ago, they didn't import 1 barrel of oil. So we have to watch their economy, and they're a big purchaser of a number of U.S. farm products.
The bottom line is every part of Louisiana's economy, be it oil and gas, Louisiana agriculture, or higher education, is under a lot of pressure right now. And the only thing we can really do is dig deep and hope for clearer skies to come. For This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, here in Lafayette, I'm Neil Melanson.
We've had Jim Wiesemeyer on the show before, and what's really cool about him, Kristen, he's very insightful. He knows about ag finance, he knows about politics, and he's able to deliver them in a very interesting way that's nonpartisan. Like, he'll just poke fun at both sides, and I think that that's really what helps keep the crowd's interest in a subject that's often dry and kind of hard to get.
It really seemed like it. It was a good interview. Next week, we'll have more from him and Neil on how some specific farm commodities will fare this year. That does it for this edition of Twila. Be sure to join us next week when AJ Sabine will bring us much more from his amazing trip to South Africa with the LSU Ag Leadership Class 14.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
For all of us here at Twila, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.